terms of the quantum memory matrix, so this is something that generally can be defined as a framework on quantum information, how the universe in general treats quantum information. And there are a couple of questions and reasons why I started working on this. And it's not only me, it's many other people that work on quantum information. And now I think the whole field would be defined as information physics, so where people start to think maybe energy and matter are not the most fundamental aspects. Maybe it's information that is most fundamental to everything, and we can talk about that. I'll get to that in a bit. But generally, how it all started was with computing. So thinking about the ultimate boundaries of computing in the universe, and then you somehow end up with black holes. So that also comes from my educational background. I studied astrophysics a while ago. The question that always was interesting to many people, and still is interesting, is what happens with things that fall into black holes. For one, we have quantum mechanics that tells us information itself. So quantum information cannot be destroyed. Quantum information, we mean things like the amplitudes that are attached to states, to particles. We mean entanglement. So these things, they cannot be destroyed. But then generally, when you talk black holes, the interesting thing is now things fall in, and Hawking, he calculated and determined that black holes over time evaporate through thermal radiation. So it means thermal radiation is random. All the information, all the things that fall in, they're basically released, but randomly. So it's all gone, and that is a contradiction. So that's called the black hole information paradox. And that's how I started thinking about it. So how could you treat quantum information in a way that it is not lost? So even when the black hole evaporates over time. And that was the first publication a while ago, yeah, where the black hole information paradox was the triggering event, so to say, or the triggering question for all of this.
Interesting. So I understand that Stephen Hawking and Leonard Susskind, another famous physicist, had a very famous argument about the loss of information and the idea that the universe always conserves information, that there's a law of conservation of information. And as you explained, Stephen Hawking indicated that information could be lost as it falls into a black hole, although nobody's ever seen information fall into a black hole, I guess. But and then Susskind was very firm in saying that information can never be lost. And I understand the debate between them, which went on for some years, was resolved in part, maybe, or in full, by a compromise by Gerard 't Hooft, the Dutch physicist who proposed that information is permanently imprinted on the border of a black hole, on the event horizon, the very limit where space-time ends and the black hole starts. Do I have that right? And how does that then relate to the idea of storing information in the universe? If it's stored in the border of a black hole, where else is it stored?
That is a good starting point. Yeah, that also leads to the I would say, to the ultimate boundaries of information storage that is relevant to the whole quantum memory matrix program. Because so interestingly, when you look at a black hole and determine how much information it can store, it actually depends on the surface area. It doesn't depend on the volume. One of the things that we did with quantum memory matrix was to say it's not only imprinted on the boundary, on the event horizon of the black hole, it is imprinted in space-time. So we don't only talk about the surface, we talk about space-time as a whole, and treat space-time, instead of a passive backdrop, more as an active information storage and also information processor. So in the usual story, as we said, the information disappears through Hawking radiation. You can define how much information a black hole can hold, determined by the surface area. But then when you think more about other aspects of the universe, about the cosmos, or how could information contribute, for example, to dark energy or phenomena like dark matter. So, and this is where it becomes interesting. So if we now treat the entirety of the cosmos as being able to hold quantum information, then we find explanation for these as well. So we can do calculations that show, for example, if information contributes to curvature of space-time, and we did that by extending the Einstein field equations by what we call the informational stress-energy tensor. If we say information can contribute to the curvature of space-time, and we consider that term in our calculation, then we can see galaxies, for example, despite their rotation curves, can be held together by that additional contribution to gravity or curvature from information. So that would be an explanation for dark matter. I'm not saying that this is the only one, the right one. There's tests that we have to do. And the same holds true for dark energy then. So it's a different perspective on quantum information. So where curvature by information causes these galaxies and unseen gravity, galaxies holding together. There is also, the more information is written, an outward pressure as we see saturation. And that outward pressure, interestingly now, is what we see in various regimes caused by dark energy. So it's a couple of things that you can connect through quantum information. So that's why coming back to the black hole originally, we think that path forward may be promising, and it's so interesting to explore where else information, quantum information, may be a contributing factor. And there's more to it, but I'll hand it back to you.